fixing it, and therein lies the problem of their own. So they say things like, they're on. But they're wrong, Charlize, they're wrong, and hence this song. Welcome to the Theronathon. We're gonna do the Theronathon. Take a bite and chew the Theronathon. Juicy like fondue, the Theronathon. Get a film review at the Theronathon. Woohoo, the Theronathon. I'm sniffing glue on the Theronathon.
You are listening to the Theronathon. Oh my god, you must be so tired. We've been going so long through so many movies. And
17 whole movies.
That's many hours.
Yeah.
Are there any other actresses we might want to talk about?
Well, hey, on a long journey, sometimes you need to take a little break. Marathons have what I'm told are called water stations. And welcome to a special water station episode of the Theronathon. I think my segue was very solid. Basically, what we're going to do today is we are just overwhelmed with atomic blondness. So we want to take a little break from talking about our favorite lady and discuss other female-led action movies of different subgenres, I've been told. We're going to try to keep it relatively light. This is kind of, if you haven't seen these movies before, because surprisingly, movies with female leads are often don't get the credit they deserve.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about them. We have pulled such gems as the Regina Connelly favorite, Salt, starring Angelina Jolie. Haywire, starring
Gina Carano.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Fassbender.
And so many other
Really
good
good
people.
cast.
A
Yeah.
cast of many excellent men.
And her.
And her.
Yeah. And I actually watched a series of movies because I was looking for a very specific thing that I have absolutely no sensitivity to, so I don't know why I bothered. But I watched Kill Bill, Hannah, and I also watched Ghost in the Shell, but immediately dismissed it because of how boring and disgustingly racist it was. So I'll talk about that. But yes, those are the movies. Kill Bill Part 1 only, I should say.
I suspect we'll throw in a little reference to Wonder Woman or two. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you guys may remember, we very much enjoyed Atomic Blonde.
Yeah. And this is fun because we are recording after its opening weekend. And like Regina said, it didn't do very well.
Yeah.
It's going to come in 3rd or 4th place. Made about half as much as the Emoji Movie.
Oh, God, I really wish I could have gone my whole life without hearing or knowing that sentence to be true. Guys, I hate to be like, give a movie your money as a statement, but please see Atomic Blonde. It's so good, and even if it's not your favorite thing, like, wouldn't it be nice if these movies were more regular?
Yeah.
Also, the criticisms I've seen of it, I find so confounding. They're like, oh, she's very cold and not emotionally driven, and I'm like, but did you watch the same movie I did? That wasn't a necessary element.
Right.
And also, that's considered to be a good thing in a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand. Lots of people have said it's very style over substance, which I also think is untrue.
But what style?
It has a lot of
That's sort
style.
of that's where I fall down on that issue. I'm like,
Yeah.
I do think it had some substance, but I'll take that amount of style with no substance any day.
Right.
I agree. Also, the more I think about it, the less I actually think that this movie is comparable to John Wick, even though I think that the comparisons are inevitable because of the overlapping
Stylishness and violence.
and the director.
Yes.
And I think that will tie it in. But I think there's a fundamental difference between a revenge movie and a spy movie. And so I think that, although I said before that I think Atomic Blonde is Salt and John Wick together, I think it's much more comparable to Salt.
I agree.
And Salt, if you haven't seen it, which I don't think anyone but me and you two have.
I've only seen it because Regina made me for this episode. But
Is that the first time you
that's
saw
the
it?
first time I
Oh
saw
my
it.
god!
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I did really enjoy it. It did not totally live up to Regina's levels of praise.
It will
I
on
had
the
to-
second go around.
I had to check myself at some point and think, A, just because I don't like this as much as Regina doesn't mean that I'm not enjoying it. And B, like, it sort of made me be like, I'd rather watch Atomic Blonde right now. But
yeah.
it is a different movie because it is a plotty movie.
Yes.
Right?
Also, I remembered when I rewatched it last night that the very first time I saw it, I was like, I'm enjoying this, but I'm really distracted. Like, is she good? Is she Russian? Not that that's synonymous with bad in the real world, but it is in this movie. Like, I didn't understand what was going on, but I think watching it again when you know exactly what happens, it makes it more enjoyable, actually. I think when you get rid of some of the mystery elements, you can focus on other things. And I do think that some of, like, the visual sequences, I can't say they don't hold up because I don't think they worked then. Like when she's free falling down the elevator shaft,
gosh,
looked so stupid.
Okay, and like just unrealistic. And I know, like, we see a ton of really unrealistic stuff in action movies and we just accept it, but I just could not stop thinking about how she would be dislocating her shoulders.
Over and over.
Yeah, like, you can't do that to your body.
And they could have chosen a different way to get her down.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, one of the strengths of that movie is her resourcefulness. Like, she does have a go bag at some point, but, like, it's mostly her being like, I have to figure shit out on the fly. But I was a bit like, I don't know, bring a rope with you? That seems like something you could have brought. I don't know.
Agree. I was obsessed with the spider venom. Yeah. I was like, just tell me when it's happening. And so I was a little disappointed that it was like a retroactive use of the spider venom.
Yeah.
But like that was a very distracting thing for me. I was like, who's gonna get killed by spider venom?
Yeah.
Spoilers, no one.
No one. Well, one of the things that I love about Salt is it picks up so quickly. Like, I think it's such a fast-paced action movie, and it's so well marked out. Like, I think the opening chase sequence we've talked about before is one of, I think, my favorite.
Where she's jumping from overpass to overpass on top of trucks.
Before that and including
okay, because I love that part.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the kind of unrealistic action where I eat it up.
Yes.
Yeah, but it only just like teeters over the edge of superhuman. Like, it's mostly pretty convincing and logical and legible.
Well, I mean, humans are actually doing that, right? So, like, because like that's
cases,
like, oh, really? You
think there's definitely a few green screen CGI bits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
CGI
cop Bob on the beat.
But, like, so that sequence, like, so the premise of the movie is that she's a CIA agent and a Russian defects and comes in and, like, blows her cover, or does he, and is like, you're a Russian spy. And so all of a sudden her own people are after her, and she's like, I have to make sure that my husband is okay. And so that launches, like, a very, I think, intense action sequence. And the thing that I like about this movie is I don't know many female-led action movies where the protagonist is solely driven by revenge for their partner. Like, I think this is one where the genders are very often swapped in other movies.
Right.
Like, spoilers, guys, Jason Bourne 2 onward.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Franca Potente.
Oh, yeah, she was the best.
In those movies, she's still alive. And so this movie also was originally written to have a man in it.
I think Tom Cruise, right?
I think so.
And I can imagine that Tom Cruise would have insisted on jumping onto his own truck.
Yes. And I think that if Tom Cruise or Matt Damon or even Frogface McGee starred in this movie, that it would have had sequels. Because I don't think it is any more absurd to be like, oh, a Russian sleeper agent? God, that movie's unrealistic. Than super soldier Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's outside of the acceptable realm of successful action movies.
Right.
But I think people are like, it's an Angelina Jolie vehicle. How annoying that she's trying to do an action movie. We all hate Tomb Raider or something.
Yeah, I don't really know what... I remember when it came out and everyone was like, it's the Lady Jason Bourne. And it's sort of, but not really.
But why would you even go,
Exactly,
why wouldn't you be like, hooray!
Exactly, yeah. I don't understand people's grudge against it. But yeah, it did not do well. It was basically buried.
And it's very obvious that it was set up to be the start of a franchise.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And I think part of the reason I'm such an evangelist for it is because I'm like, it should have been. I would have watched all of them. And that is one of the movies where I'm just like, if it had been a dude in that role, I think that would have been way more successful.
Yeah. So I picked out Haywire, and I love this movie. It's Steven Soderbergh joint. And it's starring Gina Carano, who is an MMA fighter. And I guess that most people's main criticism of this is that she's a bad actress. But I find her woodenness very charming. And in my brain, that's just what her character is like.
Yeah, it's used to the advantage of her character.
Correct.
Yes, I think they did an excellent job of making it a skill and not a deficit.
Right.
But I also think when she is acting opposite many charismatic actors... It's sometimes, like, I think when she's alone on screen or interacting with the lackey in her car, it's fine.
Okay.
But when she's, like, having a conversation over drinks with Michael Fassbender, it didn't work for me.
Okay. It works for me. She is the only human woman in the film. That is something of a drawback. Like, even when they go to a big party, like, there are only men there. It's so weird. But it's a very stylish movie, and it's Steven Soderbergh and like the Limey. It's the same writer as the Limey, also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's And it has a big, beautiful house in it, too. So
Yeah.
a lot of parallels. And it's 90 minutes long.
Yes.
Love that feature. Because today I was like, oh, I'm going to watch a good parts version of Haywire. And then I was like, no, I'm going to watch Haywire.
That's what I did. I was just like, oh, just good parts. Oh, I remember this is an awesome action sequence. And I think my favorite part of Haywire is towards the beginning, they're doing a job of rescuing someone. And rather than like really show you all the details and everyone talking, they sort of like make that sequence a prequel to a chase.
Yeah.
And they just sort of like, we just have some music. It's all in black and white. Like, you don't really need to see this. But it keeps it, I think, exciting.
Yeah.
And then there's a chase scene, and it's one of the few in movies that I have seen, which is not all of them, but where they really take their time. Like, she runs him down.
Yeah.
And they just show her running and, like, slowly narrowing the gap, like, through the streets of Barcelona. And you wouldn't necessarily think that just watching a woman jog right into the camera would be captivating. But it's really, I don't know, I think it's really well done, and it seems more like that's what running someone down would be like.
I also like the other scene where she is being run down.
Yes.
And she does a lot of walking. Which they always talk about in these movies, like, don't run because you'll be noticed, just walk. But it's really cool to see that happen and how tense that must be to, like, know that people are after you and you can't run.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then whenever she is around a corner and can run, like, she books it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, both this movie and Salt do something very interesting, which is where they show how you systematically can chase or escape.
Yeah.
So Salt does that opening chase sequence, like you see them systematically boxing her in around the streets of DC, and then the opening of Haywire, you see her like systematically like closing that gap, like meter by meter by meter until
Right.
she catches up. It's really interesting.
I think that's the thing that most filmmakers don't think about. They're like, oh, I know what's exciting, watching people like go through this sequence. And I'm like, it's not exciting for me to watch people run or to watch cars go after them. It's to think through like, oh my God, their options are narrowing. Or
Right.
oh my God, like
Right.
there are stakes to this.
I mean, the polar opposite of those sequences is the opening sequence of Casino Royale, where it's just Daniel Craig barging through walls and like running and jumping in parkour, and you're like, well, this is not like, I get that's impressive, but it's not interesting to see. There's no like actual system towards what they're actually doing. It's mostly luck and brute force.
Yeah,
I'm cool with luck and brute force also, but I agree that the intellectual part of this is super interesting.
Yeah. The other thing that Haywire does that I find really interesting is that it makes you watch the background a lot.
Yeah.
Because in like the scenes where there's a lot of like going from A to B scenes, and you find yourself like she is apparently like looking around, like making sure she's not being followed, and like people undercover like maybe like looking out for her, and it makes you like watch the background, like every car that comes around a corner, you're like, maybe there's got someone in it. Every person who goes past her and like looks at her, stuff like this, you're like, are all these people, any one of them could be someone who is about to, launch an attack on her. So like it makes you kind of paranoid. Those like scenes that could be easily construed as being just dull walking from A to B scenes, but actually you're fully engaged the whole time.
Yeah.
I've never seen any other movie do that.
Yeah.
So the movies I watch, I think I'm actually going to substitute Kill Bill for Hannah as my primary choice, because when I watched Kill Bill, I was
Volume 1.
Volume 1, I was like,
Volume 2 is trash.
I think I actually maybe like Volume 2 better, but I was like, Volume 1 is not as good as I remember it being.
Can I have a sub note very quickly?
Yes.
So I want to be a conscientious objector. I refused to watch Kill Bill, and I had debated its rightness of being on this list. Listeners, you can also decide whether or not it's a female-led action movie. Because I know that Uma Thurman is a badass in it, but I feel like films like Kill Bill, where the director, Tarantino, is such a presence in it that he basically like seeps in, and for me it's a Tarantino movie. But Bob had good reasons for wanting to do it, and he took one for the team in watching it again, even though he's the one who least objected to watching it again.
So yeah, I don't know why, I would have defended this movie to death if I hadn't watched it again recently, because I was not impressed the second time that I watched it. And I kind of remembered like, the dialogue is clunky, but I thought it was stylized. But Quentin Tarantino is a master of stylized dialogue, and the dialogue in this is just bad.
Oh, really?
Like, it's not good at all. I don't know if it has maybe like a Lynchian quality to it, where it's better in your memory than it is upon actually watching it.
Apologies to Mike Rubino in advance for your heartbreak.
Yeah, so I was watching this, I was like, this is not actually very good, which I was surprised at. So I kind of like knocked it down a peg. But your point is extremely valid about how it's not really, Uma Thurman's character isn't really a character, because all the characters are Quentin Tarantino, which is true of a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies. So yeah, I was happy after I watched it, happy to knock it down. I also watched Ghost in the Shell, which is extraordinarily boring and incredibly beautiful, but it's exactly as predictable as you think it's going to be. Like, you know every single thing that is going to happen in it within 3 seconds of being introduced to every character. So that was really boring, and it was also despicably racist. Even more racist than I thought it was going to be, which is, I thought it was just going to be, oh, Scarlett Johansson plays an Asian character and she's not really Asian, oh, they've substituted it for a white character. But it's even worse than that, because almost all the characters are white. There's maybe 2 or 3 prominent Asian characters in it, and they're all secondary. But there is also a plot point where 2 of the white characters are supposed to have been formerly Asian characters, and now their enhanced versions are white. The implications of which are staggeringly horrible. So, and I'm like, it's indefensible, and I'm just like, you can try and say that, oh, well, that's the evil corporation that has made that choice, but that evil corporation is not real. It was written by a real person, and they don't get to be racist by proxy. Like, it is horrible. So that's getting completely scrubbed.
All of our faces are very scrunched up right now.
That's gross.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. Like, I'm often, like, as a white man, not very sensitive to things like that in movies, but that really, like, put my porcupine spines up. It was horrible. So anyway, Hannah is a rather delightful movie. It's somewhat art housey.
I did not like Hannah.
Really?
I didn't watch it again for this. I might have if I had more time. When I watched it, a year or so after it came out, I was like really interested in it. It looked really cool. It has a cool premise. It is pretty. Yeah. And I really like evil Cate Blanchett.
Yes.
Oh,
okay, so
what a great genre.
Yes. So I was into it, but like it bored me, basically. It was one of those movies where I didn't connect with the characters and felt like it was kind of heavy-handed in a way that I was like not getting into. So I don't even remember it that well because I just remember not liking it very much. I remember that they use in the Hall of the Mountain King a lot.
Yeah. Heavy-handed is definitely true. It is directed by Joe Wright, who also directed Atonement and the new Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley in it. His movies...
Sorry, I had to sneak in a one-sound review for a movie we're not talking about, which is buh.
Is that Atonement or Pride and Prejudice?
I never saw Atonement, but I feel confident it's a double use.
So yeah,
it does have a pretty green dress in it, though.
It does have James McAvoy, who I apparently want to like, but hate all of his movies that aren't Penelope.
So yeah, his movies often get that kind of response, and not necessarily unjustified.
Oh, he also did the Anna Karenina, which I loved, which I cut my rant out of last week's episode. Guys, I love and hate Anna Karenina. Stupid Aaron Taylor Johnson, you ruin everything.
I like when you set yourself up to have more work.
I was like, guys, we have to keep this recording down.
But what I wanted to bring up, I wanted to ask why it was you didn't connect to the character, and what it is about movies where you do connect to the characters. Like,
that's a great question. So, I think that, and again, I'm like, I don't remember this movie super clearly.
There's not a lot happens in it.
So I feel like, and this applies to Salt also, like, they were raised to be perfect, right? Then that makes them feel, like, different from me. And then I think, does she, like, have a little doll or something?
Maybe?
I might be just thinking of, like, tropes. But they're really human under it all bits, okay, or just seem kind of cheesy. And, like, I don't think I really connected with Evelyn Salt.
I don't think I, like, connected with her, like, our lives so similar.
No.
I'm more, like, I just thought she was a badass.
Right.
And I really liked that she was like, I don't give a shit about America. I don't give a shit about Russia. I love my husband. And you guys killed him, so I'm gonna fuck your shit up. Yeah. Because I like a simple revenge movie. Yeah. I don't know what other simple revenge movies...
I mean, that movie starts off not being about revenge.
Exactly.
And then becomes about it afterwards. So that's even more interesting.
Yeah, and I just, like I said, like, I don't see a lot of movies where the male character is 100% there to just be like, I taught you how to love, and I love you. Oh, I've died! What's gonna happen to you now? You're untethered and full of rage and skills at killing.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the other things I liked about Hannah is not a revenge movie. It's just about her. She deserves to have a life of her own.
Yeah.
But she is persecuted because she was genetically modified or made or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the movie itself it's a very simple story. Is she wants to not live in a shack in the woods.
Right.
So she turns on her father is a spy who has raised her to live in the woods. She turns on a transponder because she believes she is ready to go out into the world and be chased and fight her persecutors, which is evil Kate Blanchett. And then she does so and does so. That's the story. And she travels far and wide, and it's kind of road trippy in its way, and it's beautiful. It's really atmospheric. It is beautiful in a different way that Ghost in the Shell is, but it is it's the kind of action movie my mum would make. There's lots of peeling paint and damp foliage.
Are there animal skulls? Are there bones that you serve cheese on?
There might be. She does live in a shack at some point.
Your mother serves cheese on bone?
She does all kinds of it. She has a collection of dead animal things that she occasionally uses as silverware.
Cool.
Yeah, so...
topical for all of our listeners.
Indeed. But yeah, it's interesting that neither of those characters resonated with you, because I wanted to talk about how a lot of female-led action movies, or specifically Wonder Woman and the new Ghostbusters movie, a lot of people have talked about, or I've certainly heard people I know talk about how they get really emotional over it.
I cried during both of those movies.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what it is that made that happen that doesn't happen in the other movies that we've talked about.
Okay.
I have a potentially confusing metaphor for why
Me
I
too.
think oh good. Robin, I hope you are ready as well.
I love it. Let's do it.
So my potentially confusing metaphor for why I saw watching Ghostbusters was really meaningful to me, and watching Wonder Woman also, when they had the battle on the beach, I definitely was I'm crying. There was just something about it that really hit a lot of levels. And I think imagine, if you will, eating Chips Ahoy cookies your whole life, and you're these are good. I can see why people enjoy cookies. Sure, they're tasty. I'll have some more. They're not that great for me or whatever. And then out of nowhere, someone gives you a home baked special delicious chocolate chip cookie straight from the oven, and you're oh, is this what everyone else has been having all this time? And I feel watching dude-led action movies where I'm I enjoy this. I like action movies. I like to see people do spy shit. I'm into it. But there was something about seeing all the Amazons doing it that just was touching a lot of different levels and felt more custom and crafted for me, I guess. And I was yeah, that makes sense that I enjoy those other ones. They were definitely still good movies, but this just felt a little richer. It had more depth to it, and I don't know, I just related to it more.
That's a really beautiful metaphor.
I don't know if it is a perfect metaphor, but it's the best I could do.
Is it because of feeling represented on screen?
I think that's a part of it, and I think there's something different about seeing someone because guys, full disclosure, I can't touch my toes, so it's not watching these women I'm I could do that.
Right, I always think about that. I'm so badass women, I am not one of them.
I love to watch you work. I also love to sit and watch, so we're not really on the same scale here. But yeah, I do think there is something about that. I am someone who grew up, every time I played a video game, I was well, Sonya Blaze is my only option, so that's who I will be. And I don't even think as a kid, I was I hadn't thought it through. I was just well, yeah, no, she'll kill people with her legs. Great, I'll pick her.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I do think that the representation is part of it.
So my potentially confusing analogy from the perspective of a heterosexual white man in his 30s is... I don't know if you've ever known anyone who came out of the closet late in their life.
Yeah.
I had a coworker who did this, and he would get in the break room, be talking to female coworkers and be so I met this guy, and he texted me back, and he would get really flustered and excited and exhilarated by the whole thing, and I'd be overhearing and listening and be dude, you're 35. What is happening to you right now?
Oh wow, I
He was
thought you were
too
talking
giddy.
about somebody who was 80, Christopher Plummer in Beginners.
Oh.
Great movie, you should watch it.
I should watch that. But so that's sort of happening, and I was it's not because he's not unable to control it. It's that he is having an experience specifically for him like at a level and a quality that I had when I was a child.
Yeah.
So when I was a child and I had a reciprocated crush, I got all aflutter and da-da-da.
I mean, an appropriately aged child.
With another, yes. Anyway, did I say underage child?
No, you just say like you have a crush as a child. When I hear child, I think like child. So like teenager. That makes it less weird for me.
Sure.
Sorry.
It was a mutually aged reciprocal crush. But that's a phenomenon that happens. As you become all of a sudden, you can't control your emotions, and it just kind of sputters out of you. And so when I see women talking about the Ghostbusters movie, getting emotional over it, or Wonder Woman like weeping at seeing the thing on this fighting on the beach, I'm like, yeah, it was a good scene. But the difference is that scene is made for you. It's made to represent you in that space, and you're experiencing that at a quality that I have experienced as a child, as a heterosexual white man. All action movies represent me, and so I've had that experience at a young age, much like my reciprocal, mutually appropriate crush. So I want to know if that was an accurate analogy or
I think
not.
so.
Okay.
I mean, and I think one thing I did want to point out is that, you know, Ghostbusters and Wonder Woman, they're specifically heroic.
Yes.
And I think another thing that was relevant to me for Ghostbusters is that it's a comedy movie.
Yeah.
Because I am a woman in comedy.
Yeah, I think that also, like, selfishly plays a role for me. Like, Ghostbusters was also, like, there was just so much talk beforehand of, like, this movie was going to prove whether or not women could be funny. And, like, that comes up a lot.
It's very annoying.
And it's very annoying. But so I felt like when I was seeing it and it was successful for me, I was just kind of like, well, we can wait another couple years until people are once again convinced that women can't be funny, and then we'll do this all over again.
Right.
And Wonder Woman, I think for me, I think part of the reason I was crying, like, I really liked Wonder Woman. Like, I was very into comic books for a while in college, and Wonder Woman.
And most into Wonder Woman, if I recall correctly.
And Daredevil. They were
oh,
my
gosh.
jam. But so, and I said even back then, because, like, that's when superhero movies were starting to, like, dominate our life, I was like, they're never going to make a good Wonder Woman movie. And
I remember having this conversation.
Yeah, and I was just like, her backstory is so convoluted, and they're not going to do it justice. And I also am a big proponent of, you don't need a backstory, just start in the middle of it. Like, if we just had a movie where Wonder Woman was already Wonder Woman, we would have been fine with it.
Yeah, we get it.
Please see the Joker.
Yeah, like, you don't need to, you can just start, like, with that person as a hero. And this was because, like, at the time, like, every single superhero movie was an origin story.
Right.
And so I think part of the emotionalness of watching that movie was like, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, they succeeded in a way that I didn't. And I remember being particularly furious after I saw Thor, which I like, because I was like, see, you can just make this crazy world that has a rainbow crystal bridge. Then why can't you make them mascara? Like, they're equally, like, people will accept whatever you put up there as long as you do it right. So anyway, I think those movies stood out in a way. Like, when I watched Salt, I wasn't like, oh my god, shut up, man. But I loved that movie because, like, that's a genre of movie I'm really into.
Well, I similarly enjoy Haywire so much more than I would have. I think I'd like that movie anyway if there were a dude in a role. It's, like, just kind of a cool movie with good fights in it.
Yeah.
And it's 90 minutes long. But the reason that I bought it on DVD, right? Like, it's because there's a woman in it.
Right. Yeah, and I think that particularly because she's an MMA fighter, like, there is something about seeing fights that are, like, real fights and that are shot better. And that is something where I think, having just watched Atomic Blonde, I was like, oh, Angelina Jolie. A good I think a great actress and a good action star, but, like, the fights in that are not comparable to the fights in Atomic Blonde, which also, like, this is a movie from 7 years ago and had different goals, but, like, the fights in Haywire are just so engrossing. Like, her fight with Michael Fassbender in the hotel room is
brutal,
is amazing. I think that's a better fight than the hotel room fight in Atomic Blonde.
It's more real. I love that fight because it's like the one in Haywire, because it was so gross and real and, like, very undignified.
And that is a thing I also look for in, like, lady action movies.
Yeah.
Like, I like in Atomic Blonde that she is broken up.
Yeah.
Like, she's got bruises, her face is mangled, And in Salt, like at the very first time you see her, she's being tortured in a prison camp, and her eye is like totally messed up,
completely swollen shut. It's so gross.
And the last time you see her, she's like covered in blood, and like bruises, and that is a thing like that they don't often do. Yeah. Like I like Alias, or I did for a while, but like Sydney Bristow, other than getting her teeth ripped out, which is horrifying, like was always very pretty, and they didn't let her kill people. Yeah, by and large. And I was like, no, let them kill people and get bloody. I don't know why that's the thing I want. I'm sorry. I feel weird saying it.
No, because it's what the story plausibly demands, right? Yeah. It's violence. Let it be violent. I also thought a lot watching these movies about how much I like fight choreography and how, like, I will often say, like, I don't like violent movies. And apparently that just becomes completely untrue as long as there's people in combat. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't know what it is.
I remember, so I did see Kill Bill in theaters when it came out, and I remember, like, being on that train.
Yeah.
But I also having an aversion to violent movies. Yeah. And people being like, why can you watch Kill Bill? And I think that there, for me, is a difference if the violence is, like, cartoonish in a way. Yeah. Where I'm sort of like, that doesn't feel realistic. Or, like, I would say in Salt or in Atomic Blonde or Haywire, like, the collateral damage, like, the people that are hurt in those movies are part of the story. Yeah. Whereas I think, like, movies that are very violent towards, like, innocence, I find harder to watch.
That's why I didn't like Kingsman. Or one of the many reasons I didn't like Kingsman.
I have a question for you, Bob Shields. Did you feel like watching these movies, like, where you heard, like, people like us being like, oh my god, it's the best? Did you feel like you were missing something? Did it make you feel like, I don't know, that we were having an experience that, like, is not accessible to you? Or did you still find, like, was this a Chips Ahoy for you?
So, kind of. I mean, not really. So I think, I don't know how to describe it. So, obviously Wonder Woman was very, very, very good and vastly better than Ghostbusters. So, I agreed. So I enjoyed watching Wonder Woman. I think I'm just removed from it. Like, I just have no sensitivity to the, what it is you get from it whatsoever. So, but I do still enjoy the movie. So, like, I still obviously think Haywire is great. I very much like Atomic Blonde, and very much like Wonder Woman. And I enjoyed watching Ghostbusters with you guys because you guys liked it so much.
I'm curious if, like, 30 years from now, if we are all still here. If like 30, like little girls who are growing up who are like having these movie experiences at like a formative age in the same way that you would have had them watching James Bond movies or whatever, if their experience of watching movies when they are our age will be different. If there will be like a Wonder Woman equivalent where they'll be like, I'm weeping because I'm on screen, or if they'll just be like, yeah, I've been seeing that fucking forever.
And then something we did want to talk about is how all of these female-led action movies we're talking about are all white female action movies. Yeah. So, obviously, representation still has a long, long, long way to go. We're really excited about Proud Mary.
Yes. Yeah. Guys, we don't deserve a lot in this world because things are so beautiful and true. And one of those things is Taraji P. Henson.
She is the greatest human not named Charlize Theron, and I think she could give Charlize a run for her money.
I would love them to just get coffee and chat, and for me to just
braid each other's hair.
It would just, no, I don't want her to touch her hair. That would be wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
Just maybe champagne. They'll drink champagne.
Paint each other's nails?
Yeah, sure.
There we go.
Great. That's not traumatic for anyone. Yeah, I'm excited for Proud Mary. Yeah. Also, I do want to acknowledge that I think some of the reason that the movies that we're talking about are just white lady movies is probably because of a lack of knowledge on my part. Right. Like, I have never seen Pam Grier movies.
Yeah, me neither.
I also, like, I remember, like, Lucy Liu's action phase, like, before Charlie's Angels. Like, didn't she do that movie with Mel Gibson where she's, like, a total badass in it or something?
But I feel
sounds
true.
I feel like she's probably, like, the closest to, like, I don't know if she's had a Lucy Liu. Is there a Lucy Liu action vehicle where she was the star?
Well, there really should have been.
Let's say that. Should have been. That is another, I know, like, a lot of this podcast is like, hey, that person is great. But guys, Lucy Liu, why can't we put her in another thing where it's like, hey, she really is.
She's directing a lot now.
Yeah, she was also really wonderful on Elementary. Oh, so there was a movie called Ballistic XV Sever, which is supposed to be one of the worst movies of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never
heard
of it.
That was after Charlie's Angels.
Charlize Angels.
Ooh, I'd watch that.
We have veered.
Okay.
That's I was just gonna say both of these movies and other like the cast in them is very good.
Yeah.
Like like Salt has Liv Schreiber. God, I never say it right. Salt has Liv Schreiber in it.
Is that how you say it?
Liev Schreiber?
I thought it was Liv.
It's Liev.
Yeah.
Who cares?
What? He's in it. He's great.
Chiwetel Ejiofor, never not amazing.
Always good.
What a good
Adds
actor.
So much to it.
And
Also-
he takes it so seriously. It's such a silly little movie, and he has a relatively minor character, and you can tell that he's like created an extensive backstory for this man.
Yeah, and his final scene with with Angelina. I still think it's one of my favorite parts of this movie is that when she's convincing him that everything that happened, she's the good guy in it and that no one else would believe her. The way that she does it is basically being like, you're smart, figure it out. Like,
Right.
she does not argue her case at all. She's just like, you know better. Like, think things through. And I think that is a great tactic.
Yeah.
That is a theme I think that comes in all of these movies is I would say that for the most part, like, they don't talk that much.
Yeah.
That's true they talk too much in Kill Bill, but in Hannah the same thing applies. Like she doesn't really talk very much. She starts off like trying to talk too much and then learns not to. And like the parts of that movie that you actually remember the most are the quiet parts where she's just kind of like sauntering around and like making her way places.
Do we want to rank?
No.
Yeah.
Let's just
Let's
say
cut that bit
we like movies with females kicking the shit out of people.
Correct. I also generally don't like saying female, except for in female-led action movies.
I was just going to say I said females, and then I inwardly cringed. Yeah, women.
Mm-hmm.
Women, yeah, but women-led action movies is
That's
sense.
fine.
all right.
Female-led action movie is probably more grammatically accurate.
I don't know. I usually find the use of that word gross, but for some reason
It's when you use it as a noun that it's really problematic. Which is what I just did. So
let's give a one-sound review for
Okay.
woman or female-led action movies.
okay.
Yay! So I hope you feel energized and reinvigorated and ready to get back on the track with Charlize Theron Marathon,
Yeah.
also known as the Theronathon. We'll be coming back next week with talking about Herman movies.
Yeah.
Again.
Thanks.
Thank you to Alex Reed for our amazing theme music. Thank you to Robert Lane Hitchcock, who I didn't introduce at the beginning, but she is a co-host.
Oh, that's right. I am in this show.
And Bob Shields, also co-host in this show.
And thank you to Regina Connolly.
Yeah, go on. And even though she wasn't featured centrally, I would still like to say
She is making the landscape far better for
Yes.
this kind of movie.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Thank you, Charlize.
And now you've heard the Theronathon. Every word of the Theronathon. It just occurred, the Theronathon. I hope your heart was stirred by the Theronathon. And that your kitties purred at the Theronathon. Your curiosity spurred by the Theronathon. You're turning into a nerd for the Theronathon. And if you're flipping the bird at the Theronathon, we are undeterred at the Theronathon. We're eating yogurt.
What is happening with Regina's face?
I don't know.
I was just looking at you guys.
Okay.
I think she was trying to hint that I should start my section.
No, I didn't. I was just like,
You had the face that people make when they have something they really need to say and can't say it, and I was like, just say it, we'll cut it out.
No, I was just thinking about how much I love Wonder Woman.
Okay.
No, but
What made you think of that?
just because we're talking about movies with ladies kicking stuff.
Oh, okay.
Guys, have you seen ladies do spin kicks? Yay! Anyway, all that's gonna go. You can
That's not going anywhere.
Oh, let it go!
That's going to be the end, the after outro sequence.
That I can accept.
Okay.